As highly sensitive people, we're often really good at letting go and not always as good at speaking up. So the question comes, what's the direct way to peace? What's the best way to experience peace when you're in a situation where you're not sure whether you should let go or whether you should take action? There are two contradictory ways of finding peace. One is letting go, accepting. And the other is taking action, changing the situation, speaking up. Letting go is something that happens on the inside. It's an internal kind of thing, and it can also happen on the outside. When letting go is taken on the inside, it's always an option, whereas letting go on the outside is sometimes an option, because sometimes changing the situation is what is called for, and that actually will lead to peace quicker than not doing anything on the outside. So it's confusing because there are two different levels going on. One is internal, one is external. And we tend to think that letting go is great. We should always let go. There's this kind of feeling that peace comes from letting go. And that's true on the inside. But peace can also come from getting into action, taking action, getting involved, changing, pleading your case, all of those things. And so as long as you keep it clear in your mind that the letting go is optional on the outside and that sometimes standing up for yourself is also a way to peace, then we stop looking at peace as something, with somebody just meditating and kind of not doing anything. Peace can look like dynamic action. And that's a new way of looking at peace, because it's so easy to think, oh yeah, if I just close the door and be by myself, I can be peaceful and I can let things go. But when you engage in a peaceful way, it can also be very powerful in terms of integrating that peace into the real world. So another interesting point about this is that sometimes you have to let go on the inside before you can actually take any action on the outside. For example, if I'm angry because of something someone did, and I want to give them some feedback about that, if I don't do anything with my anger, then when I go and speak with them, I'm going to be spewing a bunch of anger, and chances are it's not going to be very effective, and I may not be able to make much of a change in the situation. On the other hand, if I first pause, do some inner work, find my attachment, question that attachment, and get comfortable with, you know what, it's okay that they did it this way. And even though I have a preference for it being the other way, it's not the end of the world. Like my anger starts to go down. Then in that more peaceful place, that more let go or accepting place, I can step into a dynamic role of giving feedback, of asking for what I want, for standing up for myself. So this just emphasizes that it's the inner experience of letting go that is always available, whether the other person changes or not, whether you step in or not, you can always let go. But by letting go, you also open the door for, ironically, being able to stand up for yourself. Many of my turnarounds, as I've done my work over the years, have pointed me in the direction of actually taking action, of standing up, of saying something, and that is a balance which actually brings peace. So how do you know the difference between the time for action and the time for letting go? Well, as we've been looking at it, it's always the time for letting go on the inside. That's where the letting go should actually be happening. When I let go on the inside, I loosen my grip, I loosen my attachment. And when my grip is loose, I'm able to hold whatever preferences I have, whatever desires I need to fulfill on the outside loosely. And that keeps me in a very comfortable position. There's no desperation there. There's no anger there. And it's really the most effective form of action. So letting go on the outside is not always needed. And in fact, it's not even recommended sometimes. Sometimes asking for what you want is the most peaceful, direct way to peace. So basically, how to know the difference between when to take action and when to let go is do your inner work first, and then take a look and see if you can find what is the natural right thing to do, what makes sense to you, what feels like it goes in the direction of balance, and then follow that. So it may be confusing at first, but I find that it's actually not as hard as it seems to understand this difference. Basically, the confusion comes from thinking that peace should look a certain way. Basically, peace should be like all quiet and demure and easygoing and that kind of thing. But peace can look like a strong, decisive, take action kind of approach, and it can be totally peaceful on the inside. And the difference is it's aligned. There's an alignment from inside to outside, and there's a lack of attachment to getting those particular results. If that's there, then it doesn't matter what it looks like. You can be quite strong, and it's going to feel like peace. You just can't judge peace on the outside. So the trick is to follow your own experience, your own direction, and don't let it be, don't use this idea of what peace should look like to guide you. Go with what it feels like, and that will lead you right every time. But to help you along the way, it may first be necessary to disengage from the stressful beliefs and to get some clarity, some distance, and some easiness on the inside before taking any action. Otherwise, you're just doing it the way we've always done it, which is either run away, hide, or run towards and fight with a lot of anger and a lot of discord. There is another way of doing that where it's peaceful on the inside. There's some let go on the inside, but at the same time, there is an ability to take action in a very clear and effective way. So I'll leave you with the serenity prayer, which is sums this up really beautifully. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So all three of these things are important. It takes letting go to accept the things that I cannot change. It takes courage to change the things that I can change. And it takes listening to yourself to know when is the right time for taking action and when is the right time for letting go. And I think this idea of what I can change and what I cannot change is also core to the idea of when is the time to take action. My business is what I can control. And so anything under that domain is in the area of things that I can do and I may need courage to do, but they may be required for my peace. Whereas things that I cannot change, other people and situations that I have no control over, those are the things that I need to accept. And I find there's a fine line between these two, and that's of course why wisdom is required. The more quiet your mind is, the more settled your mind is, the more you're going to be able to discern this difference in every situation that you encounter.